This is the death of Count Dooku. A starburst of clarity blossoms within Anakin Skywalker's mind when he says to himself, "Oh, I get it now," and discovers that the fear within his heart can be a weapon too. It is that simple and that complex, and it is final. Dooku is dead already. The rest is mere detail. The play is still on. The comedy of lightsabers, flashes and snaps and hisses. Dooku and Skywalker, a one-time only command performance for an audience of one. Jedi and Sith and Jedi, spinning, whirling, crashing together, slashing and chopping, parrying, binding, slipping and whipping and ripping the air around them with snarls of power. And all for nothing. Because a nuclear flame has consumed Anakin Skywalker's Jedi restraint, and fear becomes fury without effort, and fury is a blade that makes his lightsaber into a toy. The play goes on, but the suspense is over. It has become mere pantomime, as intricate and as meaningless as the space-time curves that guide galactic clusters through a measureless cosmos. Dooku's decades of combat experience are irrelevant. His mastery of swordplay is useless. His vast wealth, his political influence, impeccable breeding, immaculate manners, exquisite taste, all the pursuits and points of pride to which he has devoted so much of his time and attention over the long, long years of his life, are now chains hung upon his spirit, bending his neck before the axe. Even his knowledge of the Force has become a joke. It is this knowledge that shows him his death, makes him handle it, turn it this way and that in his mind, examine it in detail like a black gemstone so cold it burns. Dooku's elegant farce has degenerated into pathetic melodrama, and not one shed tear will mark the passing of its hero. But for Anakin, in the fight there is only terror and rage. Only he stands between death and the two men he loves best in all the world, and he can no longer afford to hold anything back. That imaginary Dead Star dragon tries its best to freeze away his strength, to whisper to him that Dooku has beaten him before, that Dooku has all the power of the darkness, to remind him how Dooku took his hand, how Dooku could strike down even Obi-Wan himself seemingly without effort. And now Anakin is all alone, and he will never be a match for any Lord of the Sith. But Palpatine's words, "Rage is your weapon," have given Anakin permission to unseal the shielding around his furnace heart, and all his fears and all his doubts shrivel in its flame. When Count Dooku flies at him, blade flashing, Watto's fist cracks out from Anakin's childhood to knock the Sith Lord tumbling back. When with all the power that the dark side can draw from throughout the universe, Dooku hurls a jagged fragment of the Durasteel table, Shmi Skywalker's gentle murmur, "I knew you would come for me, Anakin," smashes it aside. His head has been filled with the smoke from his smothered heart for far too long. It has been the thunder that darkens his mind. On Argonar, on Jabim, in the Tusken camp on Tatooine, that smoke had clouded his mind, had blinded him and left him flailing in the dark, a mindless machine of slaughter. But here, now, within this ship, this microscopic cell of life in the infinite sterile desert of space, his firewalls have opened so that the terror and the rage are out there, in the fight, instead of in his head, and Anakin's mind is clear as a crystal bell. In that pristine clarity, there is only one thing he must do: decide. So he does. He decides to win. He decides that Dooku should lose the same hand he took. Decision is reality here. His blade moves simultaneously with his will, and blue fire vaporizes black Corellian nanosilk and disintegrates flesh and shears bone, and away falls a Sith Lord's lightsaber hand, trailing smoke that tastes of charred meat and burned hair. The hand falls with a bar of scarlet blaze still extending from its spastic death grip, and Anakin's heart sings for the fall of that red blade. He reaches out, and the Force catches it for him. And then, Anakin takes Dooku's other hand as well. Dooku crumples to his knees, face blank, mouth slack, and his weapon whirs through the air to the victor's hand. And Anakin finds his vision of the future happening before his eyes. 2 blades at Count Dooku's throat. But here, now, the truth belies the dream. Both lightsabers are in his hands, and the one in his hand of flesh flares with the synthetic bloodshine of a Sith blade. Dooku, cringing, shrinking with dread, still finds some hope in his heart that he is wrong, that Palpatine has not betrayed him, that this has all been proceeding according to plan, until he hears, "Good, Anakin, good. I knew you could do it," and registers this is Palpatine's voice, and feels within the darkest depths of all he is the approach of the words that are to come next. "Kill him," Palpatine says. "Kill him now." In Skywalker's eyes, he sees only flames. "Chancellor, please!" he gasps, desperate and helpless, his aristocratic demeanor invisible, his courage only a bitter memory. He is reduced to begging for his life, as so many of his victims have. "Please, you promised me immunity. We had a deal. Help me!" And his begging gains him a share of mercy equal to that which he has dispensed. "A deal only if you released me," Palpatine replies, cold as intergalactic space. "Not if you used me as bait to kill my friends." And he knows then that all has indeed been going according to plan. Sidious's plan, not his own. This had been a Jedi trap indeed, but Jedi were not the quarry. They were the bait. "Anakin," Palpatine says quietly, "finish him." Years of Jedi training make Anakin hesitate. He looks down upon Dooku and sees not a Lord of the Sith, but a beaten, broken, cringing old man. "I shouldn't." But when Palpatine barks, "Do it! Now!" Anakin realizes that this isn't actually an order, that it is in fact nothing more than what he's been waiting for his whole life. Permission. And Dooku, as he looks up into the eyes of Anakin Skywalker for the final time, Count Dooku knows that he has been deceived, not just today, but for many, many years. That he has never been the true apprentice. That he has never been the heir to the power of the Sith. He has been only a tool. His whole life, all his victories, all his struggles, all his heritage, all his principles and his sacrifices, everything he's done, everything he owns, everything he's been, all his dreams and grand vision for the future empire and the army of the Sith have been only a pathetic sham, because all of them, all of him, add up only to this. He has existed only for this. This. To be the victim of Anakin Skywalker's first cold-blooded murder. First, but not, he knows, the last. Then the blades crossed at his throat, uncross like scissors. Snip, and all of him becomes nothing at all. Murderer and murdered, each stared blindly, but only the murderer blinked. "I did that." The severed head's stare was fixed on something beyond living sight. The desperate plea frozen in place on its lips echoed silence. The headless torso collapsed with a slowly fading sigh from the cauterized gape of its trachea, folding forward at the waist as though making obeisance before the power that had ripped away its life. The murderer blinked again. Who am I? Was he the slave boy on a desert planet, valued for his astonishing gift with machines? Was he the legendary pod racer, the only human to survive that deadly sport? Was he the unruly, high-spirited, trouble-prone student of a great Jedi Master? The star pilot, the hero, the lover, the Jedi? Could he be all these things? Could he be any of them, and still have done what he has done? He was already discovering the answer at the same time that he finally realized that he needed to ask the question.